Hello, this is Fred and Sheila McCoy. We are not at the Hatfield McCoy Museum, but we were sitting here a few minutes ago watching a video, and it's approximately 30 minutes long, and there it is on the screen right now. Now that screen, after a while, will go to rotate. You don't have to worry about resetting it, babe. We'll just let it rotate. If it does, at least they'll get that.
Okay.
If anybody wants to go watch the video that we just watched, when we started watching it, it had only been online there for about 11 hours. But there's who it consists of, and it's two ladies. And from what I could gather, I didn't keep up with the moonshining show back when they done that during the old days. The two families joining together to make moonshine. But I know that some of the people, as far as their names and who they was and the news afterwards. But let's just, I told Sheila we'd do a small video, and then after I started taking notes, I said, no, this ain't gonna be a small video. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. It's two ladies here talking, supposed to be Hatfield and a McCoy, and then the commentator there. So I'll try my best to be respectful to the ladies because they are women. I'm a little bit more harsh when it's men and they say something that's not correct or something like that. But I will try to, I just want to answer some questions and correct some things. And let's go with the first one. Amber says, from what I gather, Amber is a Hatfield and Courtney is a McCoy. So Amber says, or at least she confirms right at the beginning, that Devil Anse Hatfield and Jim Vance murdered Asa McCoy. I think that's very important. You know, T.C. Crawford said in his book that Devil Anse said, I didn't kill him, but if a man did, he wouldn't be smart to admit to it. So everybody has always felt that Jim Vance and Devil Anse were two of the ones that actually killed Asa Harmon. So we'll go with that. Good comment. Remember that for history's sake, because she is a Hatfield, and that's what she says. So maybe that's been something that's been passed down from her ancestors to her that she's telling as the truth on the TV show. So Amber says Asa McCoy event was what started the feud. And you're going to see, I'm going to comment on this a couple of times over the next few minutes, but you'll see that never at no time does Amber ever mention Devil Anse deserting during the Civil War. Never at any time will she mention that. She says the first event that caused the feud was the killing of Asa McCoy. Asa McCoy was killed in January 6th or 7th, 1865. And Devil Anse deserted sometime on or before February of 63. That's what the muster roll says. Sometime on or before 1863. So the hard feelings with Randall McCoy started when he deserted. And we'll show more proof of that later, but use common sense. Somebody's in a fight with you. You're in a barroom fight, 5 men, you're fighting, all of a sudden you look around, your partner's gone, and you're fighting by yourself. Would you feel hard at them? Sure. But that's going to come up again in a minute. Amber never mentions a word about Devil Anse deserting, while the others were killed or taken POW. Everybody in that unit that day after Devil Anse ran, the rest of them was either killed or taken prisoner of war. Amber says Selkirk voted with the Hatfields because he married a Hatfield. She's saying Selkirk McCoy voted at the pig trial with the Hatfields because he was married to a Hatfield and didn't want to go home to his wife. Well, actually, Selkirk McCoy was married to a Wilson. Williamson, Wilson. He was not married to a Hatfield. Selkirk worked for Devil Anse Hatfield in West Virginia, but he was not married to a Hatfield. So that's an incorrect statement. Not the end of the world, but it is incorrect for a lot of people to hear. And that's what we're trying to do is let's quit speaking stuff into history. Let's learn our history. If you're going to get on TV or a show and you're going to talk, know what you're talking about so we can keep the world straight on it. There's too many stories out there. Let's Courtney's bloodline. Now, next comes on Courtney McCoy. And I don't know. I I rewound this thing 5 times, and she never gets past her great-great-grandfather. And then she goes to her great-great-grandfather's sisters that her mother was related to or something. I could not keep up, and I went and looked and looked. I'd like to know who Courtney's grandparents were, her mother and father maybe, and that would tell us her line as it comes down. But she said, William McCoy, and again, we've got, everybody knows the Hatfield McCoy bloodlines now, Hatfield and McCoy. It's aunts this, Anderson that, Ellison, everybody's named after everybody. Asa, and she names Wilm. Well, there was a Wilm McCoy, the son of Archibald, the first ones to come here. But on down the line, there's some other Wilm McCoys. And I just couldn't get it right. I don't know what she's referring to. And I would like to know, and I'll do some more checking after we make this video. But I'd like to know who her grandparents was, great-grandparents maybe, great-grandparents, grandparents, and her mother and father. Because I can't find her, Courtney McCoy. I know that's her married name probably there, but I can't find Courtney McCoy. But I could be overlooking it. Now, once again, you guys know, correct me if I'm wrong. Email, text, phone calls, it don't matter. I can take it. I'm a big boy, and I'll get on here and apologize and make the necessary corrections. But I looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything. Moonshine family recipe. Guys, how many ways can you mix water, sugar, and corn together to make moonshine? Water, sugar, and corn. Unless I'm misinformed again. I'll tell you where Sheila and I get our moonshine intelligence from, or information, is Dennis Sutton. Dennis Sutton is the first cousin to Popcorn Sutton, the famous moonshiner. I think Dennis probably knows something about it. Him and Popcorn made their first batch of moonshine together when they were 15 or 16 years old. We actually have the moonshine still in our Hatfield McCoy Museum. The first still that Dennis Sutton and Popcorn Sutton made moonshine on. Their grandfather, Little Mitch, made that still. And that's what they made it. Now, Dennis's father and Popcorn's father were brothers. And so Dennis and him and Dennis has told us 1,000,000 times. We wrote a book on Popcorn Sutton. And Dennis says, boys, I ain't but one way of making moonshine. Yep. You know, you've got corn, sugar, and water. Now, again, and while we're on it, I seen one a while back, and we covered a video on it, but let me just say this. The girls didn't cover this in there. This is not from them. This is from another video, but Randall McCoy never, ever, they can fight over Devil Anse's recipe, so-called recipe if they want. Randall McCoy never, ever made moonshine. There's no documentation. There's nothing that would even insinuate that he ever made moonshine. But yet I saw where a gentleman had Randall McCoy's recipe and he was selling moonshine. Now listen, we know commercialization of the Hatfields and McCoys has gone crazy, from hats to t-shirts to anything else you can imagine. So sell what you want. In fact, if we ever see it, we'll probably buy a bottle just to put in the museum to say, hey, Randall McCoy never made moonshine. This is not his recipe, but we bought something else to put in the museum anyway. And that's basically what you've got. You've got somebody selling something that didn't exist, but it's making them a dime, I guess. So, Courtney says she's a McCoy, yet says the feud was caused by timber property. And any red-blooded McCoy knows Randall McCoy never had anything to do with timbering. That was Devil Anse's gig. Randall McCoy never had anything to do with timbering. And any full-blooded, red-blooded McCoy, especially Kentucky McCoy, would know that. It just didn't happen. That was spoke into history. You'll never see a court case where Randall and Devil Anse sued each other over timber, over property. You won't see that. You can hear it and read about it in books and hear people like this talk about it, but it never happened. And I'll do it. So you won't be getting a reflection there.
Introducing the anti-fatigue.
Well, we won't.
It's going to commercial.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, so anyway, that's simply not true. They were not into timber business. Randall McCoy wasn't. So once again, that has been spoken into history. Amber says, pig, love affair, and such caused hard feelings, but never ever mentions Devil Lance ran like a coward, leaving the others. He was a deserter. That is why the West Virginia Hatfields have covered for Devil Lance for so many years. And that's sad. I mean, I don't care. The McCoys are related to Charles Manson. Do I try to shove that off and say it didn't happen? It happened. It's history. Check the history. He has McCoy ancestry above him. And Devil Lance was a deserter. He was a coward, and he ran from the Civil War while the others stood there and fought. But you'll never hear a West Virginia Hatfield say that. It would be so refreshing just to hear somebody tell the truth. And anyway, says this is a true story. Then she says, but we agree to disagree. Well, if something's a true story, it's true. I mean, you don't agree to disagree. You stand your ground and say, that's not what happened. You're wrong. This is a true story. I know the truth to this, and that's the way it is. You don't agree that you're going to... anyway. Courtney says the first event was when Asa returned home from war. And then she starts telling the story right out of the Hatfield McCoy miniseries, which is about as correct as somebody saying you can mix water with more water and create gasoline. See, she's telling you that Asa McCoy come home from the war and he goes into a bar and they're in there and stuff. And then they assassinate him, but yet he didn't die till days later. Now, when they assassinate him, he died right then. Assassination, you're going to die. Asa Harmon come home in 1865 after being injured and shot in the hip or the leg, and he was actually hiding in a cave. Devil Lance's, we were talking the other day about Devil Lance stealing people's chickens and hogs, horses, whatever he could take when he was acting under the color of so-called Logan Wildcats, and he was raiding into eastern Kentucky. And he was doing to these families, he was taking whatever him and the rest of his desperados wanted to, the bushwhackers, and they'd take back to West Virginia with them. And I said, what they didn't take, they would kill. They wanted to make it rough on these other people. He was ruthless when he had a bunch of guys with him, and he was a bully. In today's terminology, Devil Lance, if he was alive today in Webster's dictionary under bully, it would show a picture of Devil Lance, and that's what he was. But back then, he also had the reputation of burning people's cabins. He stole their livestock, but he would set fire to their homes to make it rough on those families. When Asa Harmon returned home, he did not want his family put in danger, his sons, his pregnant wife, so he went and hid in the cave. And that's where they killed him out. They followed, Asa Harmon had a slave. His slave brought his breakfast to him one morning. They followed Pete's footprints through the snow, and they shot Asa Harmon up there at that cave. It's located up right behind Blackberry Grade School is where it's actually at, up on the hill. So let's move on. Love affair, disagree. If you was I ain't going to say that. I'll leave that remark off. Courtney says Preacher Ants ruled for the Hatfields because he was a Hatfield. And as Fred McCoy, I resent that statement. Preacher Ants Hatfield was my great-great-grandfather, and I'm not taking up for him because he's my great-great-grandfather. If he was a swindler or whatever, especially him being a Hatfield, believe me, I wouldn't care to stand here and tell you. Preacher Ants was one of the fairest and honorable men on Blackberry Creek, and you can ask anybody of that time or after him that was living during that time, and you wouldn't have a disagreement on Preacher Ants Hatfield's reputation, his character, his dignity. You didn't have in Preacher Ants what you had in Devil Lance and some of Devil Lance's offspring over the years. You just didn't have that. Preacher Ants didn't decide that pig case. He didn't decide the pig trial. That was the whole point of getting 6 Hatfields and 6 McCoys, so everybody would vote their own family name. It'd be a hung jury. Case would be dismissed. He would be free. He would be out of it. Preacher Ants' daughter, Nancy, married Uriah McCoy's son, Asa. Nancy and Asa were my great-grandparents. Why would he rule for one family over the other? His son-in-law, we've got the will. And Asa McCoy, my great-grandfather, actually signed as a witness on Preacher Ants' will before he died. Now, he had no hard feelings. He baptized Randall and Sarah McCoy. Then she says, 1880, they killed additional brothers, Sam and Paris. That's not correct at all. Courtney says that in 1880, and it's on the video there, correct me if I'm wrong, it's hard to understand, but that's basically what she said, that I've rewound it, and she says that they killed Paris and Sam. That's not true. Paris and Sam actually killed Bill Staten. And, she says, let me go on to the next one. She says that it was ruled self-defense, but there was no proof. Simply telling an incorrect story. Bill Staten was the one that was killed by Paris McCoy, or by Sam McCoy, I'm sorry. And Wall Hatfield dismissed the West Virginia charges for murder that Ellison, that they had taken on Sam and Paris when they found Bill Staten dead. So Paris and Sam was not killed by the Hatfields. Paris and Sam actually, or Sam did, he killed Bill Staten, the witness that stood up at the pig trial and said that was Floyd Hatfield's pig. So, says Hatfields had family in governor's office. Said reason they could never get nothing done with the West Virginia Hatfields because the Hatfields had a family member in the governor's office during the feud years. And that's simply not true. Henry Hatfield was Devil Ance's nephew, and he became the governor. He was the son of Good Elias. Now remember, Good Elias and Devil Ance didn't get along. Devil Ance said one time, kill him on sight. Shoot him on sight, he said. And because he wouldn't join in on his escapades when Wall Hatfield, he didn't want to be dying in prison with Wall. Henry Hatfield was Good Elias' son, and he became the governor. But what years did he become governor? How about 1929 to 1935? Devil Ance died in 1921. The feud ended in 1890 with the hanging of Cotton Top. This man didn't become governor until 1929, but yet he helped. Devil Ance had the governor's office had family. Now he had Willis Wilson in the governor's office, the 7th governor. I think Henry was the 14th governor of West Virginia. You had Willis Wilson. That was a friend of Devil Ance's. He took up for Devil Ance, but he was not a Hatfield. Unless I've missed something, Sheila and I. I don't think we have, but if we have, let us know. Other than that, we just saw that video. You guys may want to go watch it. It's entertaining, for nothing else, if you just sit and correct the mistakes or, Fred and Sheila McCoy, Hatfield McCoy Museum, fredmccoy.com. Next time. Hey, you want to say something?
Please like and subscribe. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank y'all.